If you're new to antique radio restoration or just thinking about giving it a try, you're in the right place. But before we get into our first actual restoration, I think it's important to lay the foundation. So I want to start with a few videos that cover the basics. I call it the Beginners Series. And today we're talking about safety. So stay tuned. Hi everyone, I'm Jim Hounshell and welcome to the Old Radio Revival. This episode will cover the most important things that every beginner should know before working on vintage radios. When you first find an old radio at a flea market or a dusty attic, I know the temptation is strong. Plug it in and see if it works. But wait, don't power that radio on yet. Why? Well, antique radios can be fun to restore, but they weren't built with modern safety standards. And if you're not careful, they can bite back. A brittle power cord, shorted capacitors, or bad resistors could fry components, or worse, shock you. Underneath that beautiful cabinet might be a live chassis, exposed high voltage points, or parts that could go up in smoke the moment current flows. That's why step one is always safety first. Inspect, learn, replace what's dangerous, then proceed with caution. Spiritually, life's no different. A lot of people are eager to just power on, to charge ahead doing what feels right or seems good in the moment. But Proverbs 14:12 warns us, there is a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death. Without God's wisdom, we're just flipping switches without knowing the danger. That's why the gospel begins with humility, with a call to stop, examine our hearts, and turn to the one who truly knows how to restore us. Proverbs 3:5-6 tells us, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Obeying the gospel is like refusing to rush the restoration on your own. It means we admit we don't know best. We seek guidance from the one who wrote the manual, who understands both the danger and the cure. So as we look at some essential safety tips in this beginner's video, remember, safety isn't just a checklist, it's a mindset. Take your time, learn carefully, respect the power behind every circuit. Don't rush in, and in life, let God lead you step by step. Now let's get started. Safety tip number one, don't plug it in yet. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is plugging in an old radio just to see if it works. Bad idea. Old electrolytic and paper capacitors can short out instantly, leading to blown fuses, burnt resistors, damaged transformers, even electrical fires. At the very least, replace the filter capacitors before powering up, and always bring the voltage up slowly using a variac with an isolation transformer. You can learn more about the tools we'll use in the Beginner Series video entitled 10 Must-Have Tools for Antique Radio Restoration. Be sure to check it out. Safety tip number two, beware of the hot chassis hazard. Many tabletop radios from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s were designed without a power transformer. While this reduced cost and size, it introduced a serious safety concern known as the hot chassis. Let me explain. Notice the prongs on this older plug are the same size. Because of that, the plug can be inserted into the outlet in either direction. One prong connects to the hot side of the power line. This is the wire that carries electrical current into the radio, often going first to the power switch. The other prong, the neutral side, connects to ground, which is typically tied to the radio's metal chassis. As long as the hot prong is inserted into the hot side of the outlet and the neutral is aligned with neutral, the chassis remains safe. But if the plug is inserted the other way, hot into neutral and neutral into hot, the chassis can become energized with live voltage. The metal chassis could be carrying household current. If you were to touch the chassis with one hand and simultaneously touch a grounded metal object with the other, your body could become the path for the electrical current. This could result in a serious shock or even be fatal. To protect yourself, always use an isolation transformer when powering up transformerless radios. Replace old, non-polarized plugs with modern, polarized ones. These have a wider prong that ensures the plug can only be inserted one way, keeping hot and neutral aligned correctly. Check your outlets to confirm they are wired properly. The shorter slot should be the hot side. The longer slot should be the neutral. Taking these precautions can protect you and your vintage equipment. For a more in-depth look at the hot chassis issue and how to deal with it, check out my video entitled The Hot Chassis Radio, also found in the Beginners series. Safety tip number 3. Be aware of residual high voltage, even when your radio is unplugged. Here's something many people don't realize. Capacitors can hold a dangerous charge long after the radio has been unplugged. Some capacitors in vintage radios can store up to 600 volts, and that charge can discharge through your body in an instant. This isn't just a mild zap, it can be extremely painful or even fatal. So before you touch anything under the chassis, make sure the capacitors are safely discharged. The safest method is to use a bleeder resistor or a purpose-built capacitor discharge tool. While it may be tempting to short the capacitor terminals with a screwdriver, that's not recommended. Doing so can damage the capacitor or other nearby components. So remember, always remove power from the radio and discharge the capacitors properly before doing any work underneath the chassis. Taking a few seconds to discharge those capacitors the right way can literally save your life. Safety tip number 4. Asbestos alert. Some older radios, especially models from the 1930s to the 50s, used asbestos for heat shielding or insulation. You'll often find it near vacuum tubes or sandwiched between the chassis and the bottom cover. Asbestos is a serious health hazard. When disturbed, it can release tiny airborne fibers that, if inhaled, can lead to long-term respiratory illnesses, including lung cancer and mesothelioma. So if you suspect a material might be asbestos, do not blow on it, scrape it, sand it, or otherwise disturb it. What should you do about it? Well, opinions vary. Some restorers say the best option is to leave it undisturbed and avoid handling it altogether. Others recommend sealing it in place with a clear, heat-resistant enamel spray to prevent fibers from becoming airborne. A more aggressive approach is removal, but this must be done carefully. If you choose this route, it's recommended to first wet the material with water to keep the dust down. Then place it into a sealed plastic bag, say a Ziploc, for disposal at a proper hazardous waste facility. If you're unsure whether the material is asbestos or if you're not confident handling it safely, the best option is to leave it alone or consult a qualified professional. When it comes to asbestos, caution is always the safest route. Safety tip number 5. Good ventilation is a must. Many of the products we use when restoring radios, like solder, contact cleaners, and spray paints, release fumes that you don't want to breathe. Even common chemicals can cause headaches, dizziness, or worse if used in poorly ventilated space. To protect yourself, make sure your workbench has good airflow. A fume extractor fan, an open window, or even a box fan pulling air away from your face can make a big difference. Always read the labels on cleaners, sprays, and solvents, and follow any safety instructions provided. Some products recommend gloves or eye protection, especially if there's a risk of skin or eye contact. Good ventilation and basic precautions go a long way in keeping your workspace safe. Safety tip number 6. Always work on a non-conductive surface. Especially when you're just starting out, you may not have many options when it comes to a workspace. But one thing to absolutely avoid is powering up a chassis while it's sitting on a metal table or other conductive surface. That can be a recipe for a dangerous short circuit or worse. Instead, choose non-conductive surfaces whenever possible: a wooden bench, a rubber mat, or a thick plastic surface are much safer choices. Also, wear rubber-soled shoes to reduce the risk of completing an electrical circuit with your body. And here's a habit that may sound old-fashioned, but it's based on real safety principles. Keep one hand behind your back or in your pocket when probing a live chassis. That simple habit can prevent current from passing across your chest in the event of a shock, reducing the risk of a serious injury or even death. In short, avoid conductive surfaces, insulate your work area, wear proper footwear, don't ground yourself, and always use caution when working on a powered radio. These simple steps can make your workspace a whole lot safer and help you enjoy the hobby for years to come. Safety tip number 7, never work alone around high voltage. Whenever you're powering up a radio or working inside it while it's plugged in, it's wise to let someone know what you're doing, especially if you're just getting started in the hobby. Ask them to check on you every once in a while to ensure that you're still doing okay. It might sound dramatic, but it's not. A slipped probe, a moment of distraction, or an accidental touch in the wrong place can lead to serious injury or worse. High voltages inside antique radios can be lethal. If you're going to work alone, keep a phone within arm's reach, not across the room, so that you can call for help quickly if something goes wrong. It's a small step, but it could save your life. To recap, let someone know you're working on a powered chassis. Don't rush. Take your time and stay focused. Keep emergency tools like a phone or first aid kit close by. Now for a quick recap of the essential safety tips. Don't plug it in before replacing key components. Use an isolation transformer. Discharge capacitors before touching. Watch out for asbestos. Ventilate when soldering or spraying. Work on non-conductive surfaces. Never work alone during live testing. Restoring old radios is an incredibly rewarding hobby, but you've got to respect what's inside these old sets. Safety isn't about fear. It's about being prepared, cautious, and smart. In the next episode of our beginner series, we'll talk about 10 essential tools for radio restoration. You won't want to miss it. If this video helped you out, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss what's coming next. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.